So the other day we ended up with Joseph speaking with his brothers who have wanted to kill him. Then, as they were bickering about what they should do, they actually realized that they could make some money off him, so they sold him to slavery instead. And that's yeah, that's kind of hard to forgive. You and I, most of us have had better brothers than that, and thank God for that. Our families have not been as dysfunctional as his. And welcome this morning to the simple truth from the Word of God. And so Joseph is speaking to them years and years later. He's saying in Genesis 50:20, but as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. Because that's what happened. He went to, God used this to take him to a place where he was meant to go, and where he was meant to live his life, and where he was meant to actually save a country, a kingdom, thousands upon thousands of people from starvation, and also his own seedling nation, the first shoots of Israel, as it were, in that generation. And he did that, and he saw that, and he saw God's hand, and he said, guys, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, and I can see his hand in this, so it's okay. I'm letting you off the hook with this. So Joseph did not try to diminish the evil that they had done. That wasn't his solution for the problem. Sometimes we try to forgive that way, okay? And we say, they didn't know what they were doing, they didn't mean it, it's not their fault somehow. And sometimes that works, and I think that's a very good question. How do you learn? How do you grow in forgiving? And Joseph here did not do that. Instead, he looked higher. He looked to God. And I think that's a better solution. Because in the beginning, of course, you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can say it wasn't their fault, because oftentimes it isn't. They didn't mean it, because oftentimes they didn't. They were just insensitive somehow. They didn't realize, or I was too sensitive, whatever. It's possible. Or, it wasn't their fault. Maybe it wasn't, okay? But it's not a foolproof solution. It's we have that saying, when you come up with a foolproof solution, then all of a sudden a better fool comes along. And this is also true here. You can say it 100 times, 1,000 times, they didn't know what they were doing, it wasn't their fault. But then, 1,001, 1,001st time, I don't know how you say that, someone comes up who actually meant it every bit and wanted to hurt you. And, usually you don't have to wait 1,000 iterations for that. But anyways, so you come to a place where your foolproof solution is not so foolproof anymore. It will have failed. And then at that point you say, okay, so what is there? How is there forgiveness? And this is, to believe that people are good and they didn't mean it. Sometimes it works, but not always. The higher, more foolproof solution is the way of faith. And that's the place where God means for us to live. And so to see God's promises, okay, to you and to me, because God's promises to you are real. And that's a great reason for forgiving, because I know that I will inherit beautiful things from the heart of God in heaven and even on earth here many times. Like taking that, it helps me more. Those promises are dear and near to my heart, and that's what makes my life precious, and they make my life meaningful. And so that means that this thing, their hurt to me, is much smaller than even if they meant it, than they meant it to be. Yeah, it hurt, but it's not the major defining factor of my life. And that place where you can go to that place is so amazing, because when you can look at God and his work and his promises and his faithfulness to you and me, then that is always there for us. Once we take hold of it in faith, this will always help us with forgiveness. Not like, it's not their fault, because many times it will, but sometimes it won't. We just won't truly believe it because we see it's not so. But this, when we go to God, when we go to this place in looking for forgiveness, this is an amazing place, and it's really a beautiful place where we can find forgiveness. When we do this, then forgiveness really becomes part of our heart's fabric, and we're able to exercise it, because we realize the work of God in our lives as well. God bless you with that simple truth, and may the Lord bless your day today.